This feels crazy to me, but I have to be honest about it. Like, this game is interesting when people say that we chase clicks, and I am not chasing clicks. However, the clicks are often an indication of what y'all want to talk about or what it is that y'all want to hear about. And I don't know if you experienced this on your show. Actually, I know you do because they coming down on my man Charles McDonald's head. He got a podcast called Football 301 with friend of the program, Charles McDonald. The people really get charged up about Shedeur Sanders. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but the people really get charged up about him. He is going to start on Sunday. Dillon Gabriel is still in concussion protocol, and so he is going to start. I'll be honest with you, brother. I don't even know who it is that they're going to play against. I just know that he's going to be out there, and you played football, college football as a quarterback. This is kind of your thing. This is what you do.
It's my thing.
What did you see on Sunday?
A guy that I saw in the preseason, which was a guy that's not very big and also runs backwards in the pocket and kind of seems like a step behind running an NFL offense, which is what he looked like in the preseason. Even when talking about him as a prospect, and I think people definitely got out over their skis about him because I always considered him, and Charles did too, Charles McDonald. So I'm glad you actually mentioned that because when that clip got posted, and at first I was like, yeah, this will get some people will probably get mad about this, but whatever. And then I wake up the next day and I was like, oh my God. And because I get tagged in it and I'm like, and then my guy Charles isn't even on Twitter anymore. So I just see all these and I'm like sending it to him. You seeing this? But even going into the draft I thought he was a day 2 guy is how I kind of ended up putting it, like a 3rd round grade. I thought a lot of these quarterbacks were. I thought Jackson Dart as well was a late 2nd, early 3rd rounder. And watching him on Sunday, that's exactly what he looks like. He looks like a guy that needs time, a guy that's more of a project. But then my argument got to about Shedeur was, what traits are you working with here? Like, and this is actually some of my discussion with JJ McCarthy right now too, where it's like, yeah, if it's a project with a guy that needs time, I want that guy to look like Anthony Richardson and play like Anthony Richardson, or I want a Josh Allen if you want the high end of that, or a Culpepper, who I feel like we talk about every time I'm on this show. Yes. But you want the guy that you can grow into being a freak. You want the freaky traits, and then we work on the polish. But if I'm trying to polish this guy to be a fine average starter, is the juice worth the squeeze? But watching him on Sunday, that's what it looked like. It looked like a guy that hadn't played much or looks like he's behind the 8 ball with an NFL offense, and also just like some of the trait stuff and some of the play styles were behind too, as far as with the pocket movement. Bullets started flying and he reverted to his worst tendencies, which was drifting back in the pocket. And they go against the Raiders this week, who don't have the craziest defense in the world, but they still have Max Crosby. And I'm curious how many Tom Brady, Shedeur Sanders kind of discussions happen, after this game. I'm sure it's going to be exhausting with some of those connections, I'm sure, with the pre-show and everything.
Yeah, or like improper conversations. I mean, there's no way in the world that Fox is sending Tom Brady to cover no Browns and Raiders, but it would be great if they had, so we could see him talking to coaches he shouldn't be talking to a player that he probably shouldn't be talking to.
I love they point out every time he's on, they're like, he doesn't have a headset on. He doesn't have a headset. Like they make sure to the commentators go like, see, it's okay. It's above board. He doesn't have a headset on. It's like, we got it, guys.
but no, I will say this about Shedeur for me, because as I said early in the season, no, he's not in a position to be successful. He plays for the Browns. There's not a single person on that team that's being put into a position to be successful. Dillon Gabriel was not put into a position to be successful. And I say this as somebody that doesn't think there is a position for Dillon Gabriel to be successful. Like you and I both are like, hey, man, you got to be really super talented if you're going to be a little guy playing quarterback or a short guy playing quarterback. You play college football with Russell Wilson. And I remember when he came out, and this is, I was covering him when he was a redshirt freshman at NC State. Yep. And the argument was, if this guy can't do it at this size, then that means that nobody can do it at this size. Like, that's how talented he is. And he did it at this size. And now we add all of this, and it comes down to where I kind of started with this is, where in the world is Shedeur Sanders going to wind up? Because he can't come back to the Browns after this season unless he is lights out for the rest of the year and makes himself look like a starter, which I think is too much. I think it was too much to ask of Dillon Gabriel. I think it was almost too much to ask of Kenny Pickett at this point. Yep. But it's a lot to ask. If he doesn't do that, I think that something about that relationship does feel not good, right? Yes. Like he clearly, the staff does not seem invested in him in any sort of way, which means he probably has to go somewhere else to get this done. But who wants to sign up for this at this
Right.
point?
And the thing was too, the draft when he fell. I thought, to day two, which is where I thought he would end up actually, because of just some of the stuff like, okay, this is what his talent is. And then it gets to a point, if you're a backup, if you're a development guy, usually it's out of sight, out of mind. You're just deal with the scout team and then the quarterback coach or the assistant quarterback coach. We work on some stuff, day to day. And that's it during the season. And that's another thing. There's people are like, he didn't get reps with the ones. He's been hurt. He's hurt his hamstring. He's hurt. He sat out of practices with a sore shoulder. All he's doing is scout team, and he's hurt. Again, bringing up the size stuff. But that's the thing too, is that there's not a lot of reps to go around, and also the staff has to be like, all right, am I going to waste my time and waste my stuff to develop this when anything that goes on, all of a sudden there's so much noise about why is he fourth in the individual line giving handoffs? So what you're saying is like these guys have to deal with so much noise anyways. So I'm sure that they're like, a team's looking at them like, well, I don't want to deal with that. Like, or I totally agree with you. That's because it feels like to me that this was a regime pick on day 3. I'm not the first person to say that. As far as I think, the execs, Andrew Barry, maybe the owners got involved. It does not feel like a coach's pick. And that's the thing too. If that's how one coach's staff feels like, well, people in the league talk, and people in the league that are fighting for their jobs or everything like that. It has to go to a very safe place, like you said, a starting quarterback that's already locked in and a head coach that has time and job security. But are the Rams going to go for that? I'm just trying to throw out some other teams there, but like the Cowboys going to go, well, Jerry. But like some of the teams, they have to have like real locked in solidified, because this is just such a wild variable, and the NFL teams do not like wild variables like that.
And I also think that observers, I think there are a lot of people who observe the Shedeur stuff who don't really do this, and that's not an insult to them, but he has a lot of general audience interest.
That's a great point. That's
And I think that a lot of people need to understand, or even the people who aren't just general audience, more toward even sports fans who veer toward like general audience, if you put it all on a spectrum or a continuum, right? This league is not about giving people chances. They give people jobs. You can turn it into a chance. You can seize an opportunity, but nobody owes you a chance per se, right? And so the argument that Sanders has not been given enough of a chance, that's the argument behind not practicing with the ones. He's not even getting a chance. That's not what they do there.
Nope.
That's not, this isn't, we're just giving everybody a chance to live out their dreams. They are not in the business of making dreams come true. That's not, dreams come true here, but not because that's what they're trying to accomplish. That's not it. So no, they're not giving him a chance. They are giving Dillon Gabriel a chance, but not because they want to give Dillon Gabriel a chance. They think it's best for them.
Yeah.
They're not doing a favor to Dillon Gabriel.
They're trying to because if it works, it's a feather in their cap. And that's what it is. Like, they didn't even go into this season wanting Dillon Gabriel playing the whole season. They had Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett on this roster for a reason. I didn't like the method to their madness. I thought they should have just traded for Tanner McKee and just get through all this bullshit and be done with it. But no, you're absolutely right. It's a meritocracy in so much way more than people realize. Like, yes, there is nepotism. Yes, people get chances and get jobs and stuff like that. But as far as playing, because the film doesn't lie. So if you're just going like, oh no, we got to get this shot, people in the locker room are going to go like, all right, I'm going to get another concussion and run over the middle for this shit. Like that's not how it works. Like, it works for like, who's the guy next to me that's going to get me paid and win me football games? All right, if he's going to do that, then I'll do whatever. I'll run through a brick wall for him. But if we're just doing this ideas and fun stuff, it doesn't work like that. And just like you said, the rep stuff, during the season, there's a finite amount of reps that can go around, because you're installing to win that game that week. And it's not just like training camp, which is still limited reps, but it's like, at least we can parse up these practice reps to get these plays going. They're trying to game plan for this week and win this game, because there's a lot of guys who have their jobs on the line, not just coaches, players as well. So like, that's what the whole thing is too. It's like, yeah, we want the dreams, and why isn't he get reps with the ones? Because that's not how it works. The ones get the reps. There's the famous line, right, about Tom Moore. Yeah. We don't.
Yeah.
So
and for people
true.
who don't know the line is Peyton Manning takes all the practice snaps, which is in part because Peyton Manning is a control freak maniac.
Yes.
But the other part was Tom Moore's argument was, if if we have to go to the backup, we're fucked. And we don't practice fucked.
And it's so true. How about this? Another tie in Russell Wilson. Okay, he transfers to Wisconsin. Paul Chris, offense coordinator, and even Bielema, the head coach, they ran it very pro style. How our practice week was very pro style structured as far as reps, as far as like how, situations and everything. Makes sense. That's what we had to do at Wisconsin to win games. So Russ gets there. I'm the backup. All right. So we're going through the first game script, going through all the stuff. And then he kind of looks and he goes, am I taking all these? I'm like, yep. I'm like, I get 3 plays. I get 3. That's all I got. I would get 3 plays. And there's just one little series. Okay, these are the 3 plays in case we are fucked because Russell's hurt. And then Nate has to go in there. All right, these are the 3 plays that we go with. And then that Paul Chris had to explain to him, like, well, we're trying to teach, this what we did at, San Diego Chargers, whatever. This is how I know it. And so Russ was like getting groomed for the NFL because that's how we practice. We practice like an NFL team in ways. But that was one of the ways we did it was, no, the one gets all the reps. He gets all the reps in walkthrough. He gets all the reps in 7-on-7. He gets all the reps in team because that's the starter and we're developing the starter right now. So, because one time he complained, he was like, man, I just threw like 110 balls. I'm like, you still got like 30 more because that's how but that's what being a one is. You take all the reps. That's how it kind of goes. So yeah.
Well, also don't forget that he had spent 2-3 years with a giraffe over his shoulder that the coach absolutely wanted to take his job if at all possible. Oh my God, you had to be there, man. Like it is a fast because he was not Tom O'Brien's guy. Glennon was the guy that he brought in, and the whole that first year with Russ was all right. We're just holding this down until Glennon gets the job, and then little did they know that they had an NFL quarterback. And so, but there was never a day that Tom O'Brien did not wish that Mike Glennon would be the quarterback.